in chapter 2, we covered courts and ADRs, which I'll go into detail about each of those later on. But just to jump into it, we talked about the concept of jurisdiction, which is simply just the authority of a court to hear and decide a specific action. Whether this be if you were taking somebody to court over divorce or somebody running over your cat, it just gives the authority of the court to make the final decision as to what's going to happen punishment-wise or like negotiation-wise, I guess. There's two different concepts with that, and that's in personam, and in rem. In personam maybe. Personal just involves any person or business involved, so that could be like divorce or I don't know, me taking Walmart to court, I guess. And then in rem just means property, geographical location. If you run over somebody's cat on their property, that could be a reason to take them to court. So then moving on, we talked about long-arm statutes. That is like the deciding factor as to which state somebody might be tried in. Say you're driving through, using class example, you're driving through Nebraska, you live in, say, South Dakota, you're driving through Nebraska to get to Colorado, you hit somebody when you're in Nebraska. Does the person who's trying you have the ability to try you in Nebraska if they're a Nebraska resident, or do they have to go to your state? And I think we discussed in the lecture that if you are a South Dakota resident and you are driving through, that does give the person who's trying you, I drew a blank, to try you in their home state. So there's no minimum requirements or anything, but yeah, it's kind of a hit or miss, I guess, it depends. The next thing we talked about is venue, which is simply just where, like, the most appropriate location to try somebody. This is important because people are given the right to a fair trial, and if they're, I don't know if this would make sense or not, but if they're a South Dakota resident being tried in Nebraska, is that a fair trial, or would it be more fair for them to be tried in South Dakota? This depends heavily on like different states, like their laws and stuff and their punishments, things like that. So that plays into effect there. And then standing to sue is the next thing. Just that a party must have a sufficient stake in the dispute to justify seeking relief through the court system. So you can't just say, oh, they looked at me wrong, I'm going to take them to court because they gave me the death glare. It has to be something legitimate, something like, I guess, appropriate to try them for. And then we talked about ADR, and that is just an alternative dispute resolution. So just something other than taking them to a courtroom, something more less professional, less official. There's 3 different types. ADR methods are used, I guess, a lot by businesses because you don't want, say if I were to go sue Walmart, you don't want Walmart being in the news saying that somebody is suing them because they were sold rotten milk. That would bring lots of bad publicity. So they might use an ADR method to keep things out of the public records, because anything that is done in a courtroom through the court system is considered a public record. So the first one is negotiation, and that's just a verbal agreement. sometimes with attorneys, not always. Just very informal. Like I said, just a verbal agreement. Mediation. When I think of mediation, I think of like, I know some people that I know, I guess, that have gone through divorce and are battling custody. They usually do mediation to come to an agreement with custody before taking it to court, just to kind of keep things on the DL. But this is I guess, one step more formal than negotiation. This is where you would bring in a third party person, a mediator, to just sit it and listen, who is not affiliated with either party. Just sit in, listen, give their inputs. They're not biased by any means. Cheaper than lawyers. So that's kind of like the next step up from negotiation. And then arbitration. You bring in a neutral third party or a panel of people. They just listen and impose a resolution. This one can be biased. This one is risky because of that. They can take stuff away or rule against you. It's almost like a mini trial. It's the most formal of the 3 ADRs. Yeah, I think that's it.